The beauty of the Christian faith is not that it makes us feel guilty, but that it allows us to name our problems. Our problem is sin and pride. And so this is what Lewis has Eustace say as a dragon. He wanted to be friends. He wanted to get back among humans and talk and laugh and share things. He realized that he was a monster cut off from the whole human race. An appalling loneliness came over him. He began to see that the others had not really been fiends at all, and he began to wonder if he himself had been such a nice person as he had always supposed. He longed for their voices. Right? When he finally becomes a dragon, he recognizes his loneliness for the first time and then desires to be reconnected. Now, the problem, of course, with being a dragon is that he's stuck on the island. It does turn out, by the way, Lewis notes that everyone found out that Eustace the dragon was actually much more helpful than Eustace the boy. Right? He would go kill pigs and bring them for everyone for dinner. He even found a large tree that he carried across the island and gave it to them so they could repair the mast of the Dawn Treader. But the problem is that he's stuck on the island. Right? He's a dragon. He can't fly across an ocean, and they couldn't carry enough food with him to go on the Dawn Treader. So he is trapped in his sin. He can't get off the island. Eventually, Aslan appears to him, right, the great lion, and he says, "Let me undress you." And Eustace, the dragon, says, "Oh, dragons are scaly sorts of things like snakes. Maybe I can scratch off my skin." So he scratches off his skin. He scratches off his dragon skin, all the scales, and they come off. The whole peels off, and it's there lying next to him. And he does it again. But each time he does it, he looks back at himself in the reflection in the pool where he longs to bathe, and he sees that he's become a dragon again. Our own efforts to reform ourselves are never enough. They are necessary, but not sufficient. He does this 3 times, and all 3 times he remains a dragon. So the lion, he said, "You will have to let me undress you. I was afraid of his claws, I can tell you, but I was pretty nearly desperate now, so I just lay flat down on my back to let him do it." The very first tear he made was so deep that I thought it had gone right into my heart. And when he began pulling the skin off, it hurt worse than anything I've ever felt. In part, why were Eustace's earlier attempts at undragoning himself incomplete, necessary but insufficient? Well, we can't tear our own hearts out. We can't tear out our own egos because our egos are doing the tearing. We're trapped in the very cycle of sin and self-justification, confusion. So we have to surrender and let God do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. We have to let God rip the ego out and off of us. Only God's power is great enough to restore the human creature to its created condition. Of course, then, Aslan throws Eustace, the boy, into the water, and upon seeing himself, Eustace delights in announcing, "I'm a boy again." Having turned from his sins with the power of grace, he was a newborn Adam. Right? We have here, in a way, a great image of faith and baptism. Right? We are actually restored as like girls and boys, as Adam and Eve, restored in that image and likeness of God. Right? Christ does for us what we cannot do for ourselves. And this goes back to an idea that comes from right throughout the tradition, but I think John Henry Newman, now a saint in the church, articulates so beautifully. He says, "Conversion is the work of a moment, but holiness the work of a lifetime."